to my YouTube channel. Today I'm in Los Angeles and I will give the first styling to this grafted prostrata juniper. My friend Hank here in Los Angeles bought these procumbens juniper on an auction. You can still see the original foliage, kind of bluish, spiky foliage. It's getting weaker and weaker, obviously, because the new grafted kishu juniper is getting advantage of the tree. So basically the other foliage is growing back. So here in Los Angeles, the species that I see apart California juniper that is growing better is kishu juniper, is more resistant than Itoigawa to hot and dry weather, and here grows very well. You can see how the top part, as always, after grafting tend to be much stronger than the lower because most of the energy is apical in general. So the goal of today is remove the original foliage, transform some of the old branches in gin, add some character to the trunk. The trunk line is very nice, very elegant, very formal. I would say this tree could be and will be a nice informal upright. We have a very good nebari transition. Hank graft inside the main branches, so we have more compact foliage and we can have some nice gin popping out from the main silhouette of the tree. And I want to also add some more shari line in the trunk and explaining to you how to do this work, and especially of young tree. This is a, let's say, a nursery material, a tree that was grown to become a bonsai. So on a young tree, how we can go and select the main live line and start developing a new trunk line with good muscle. So I will start by removing the original foliage and taking care of the deadwood. Now that I remove all the original foliage, I can also do some selection. So we have a section here with a couple of grafted but very big branches that I don't think they are useful for the future design, having all other nice branches going up to the top, especially this one. This is a very good branch that I can use as a main lower branch of the tree, in this right side. So this one that is almost parallel, very big, it can become a nice feature of the future bonsai, creating nice deadwood. And something I can do here in the base, I can save this live line. So part of the live line give energy to the branch, but the other part goes up to this top. So I can just gin it from here and have a beautiful old gin coming from the side. I can stretch the wood and create a nice feature. And so I can concentrate more the foliage in the most compact part of the tree. So I can shrink the foliage around the trunk to highlight the beauty of the taper of this tree. While I clean the gin, I also save this live line in the back that is going up to this section. So the good thing of this kind of a younger juniper is that I can still move energy from one part to another, just redirecting the vein. So when I kill this branch, I can still save this part of the vein to go back and follow this section, something that obviously is much difficult to do on older junipers. this type of work, the two best tools are the Rudiban, that I can use to clean and remove the bark, either from the gin, and using these I can remove old bark and cambium, so parts that are still alive. And the other tool is the triple blade knife, that is very useful to reach part inside some elbow, some axillas that you cannot reach with the Rudiban. And especially this tool is very useful to do live line selection. So here basically we want to reconnect this section of the live line to the main one going up here and creating a nice muscle behind this gin, removing just a little part of the original vein that was giving energy from the back here to the gin. So it's very useful, the knife, because with the tip we can go inside and mark very well the edge of the shari line, and then with the flat section we can rise up the bark and remove it from the trunk. So giving this a nice cut. Also the merismatic cell of the wood, they will create a callus, and because this is a young tree, for the next few years we have to go and recut and reselect the callus. So we basically give a message to this vein to grow more nicely and tubular, to create a beautiful muscle running up from the trunk of the tree, from the roots to the trunk of the tree. So I use my knife and I clean very well all this section. And so the first part of the deadwood work in this lower part is done. What I will do after that, I will keep cleaning all the bark to have it more smooth. This will help me to identify better where are the live line running in the different area of the tree, and so I can go in and reselect some more live lines and create more shari. On a trunk like this, that you know, Hank told me that this tree grew in the garden of Mr. Mukai, an old gentleman here in Los Angeles, for over 40 years. So he was taking care of this tree for over 40 years. Still is kind of young for a juniper. That's why we have to do this shari work to add character to the trunk. This is very important. So if you need this knife, send me an email and I can give you all the information. There are some area where it's already evident how much the live line is growing. It's bumping here. So I can start going in area that are deeper, like this one, and remove and start opening a shari. So in time, this live line will divide from this, and I will have some nice muscle. So I keep doing this work on separating. First I mark with a black marker the area that I'm planning to remove, and then I will go in with my sharing knife from the bottom to the top, and I will create a nice live line and shari. I finished the work on the lower part, highlighting some of the live lines, going up, and taking care of connecting also the new gin with the trunk. And now I can work on some other little gin popping up from the green. I just finished the work on the deadwood, creating this new gin to highlight a little bit this section. Some nice shari, dividing the veins and giving a little bit the first work to have good, nice live lines in the future, subdividing them through the different living part of the tree. I clean also a little bit the green, transforming gin the branches that they were the original foliage. You can see here, and a little bit of cleaning of this part. And while I was doing the work, especially on the cleaning, I started analyzing the different part of the new foliage that I have available. I have good foliage here, compact, to really create some nice living pads here. Some I have these two branches kind of very parallel. I was kind of debating myself eventually to remove one of the other, but if I remove this one, for example, it will be a big negative space in between. So I prefer for the moment to keep both, and eventually I will transform this section with a nice shari to have it a little bit better, and then bringing the sun green in this area, I can create a better transition between the two. And I also have two strong line in the top, this guy and this one, a little bit more compact. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this one as a back branch. I will bend it with some raffia, push it back and create depth, and this will be my new apex. So now that I set the tree, lifting a little bit up to expose more base on this side and have a little bit more angle for this branch to not be so horizontal. I will start from the lower branch, wire and set all the pads until I will be in the top, and along the way I will explain and show you the evolution. I start already taking care of the branches, all the new graft that were done from inside. You know, I stretch them out and open to create a nice structure. This is the first time they are wired after elongating from the moment of graft. That was about 2 years ago, and then the tree was let free to grow. I work my way up, I wire everything, clean, open and position. You can see, try to start framing nicely the trunk, and then I will have a little bit of bending to do on this section to basically bend it down and cover the back of the apex with this. I will put some raffia and bring it down, and then open this big elongation. You can see this elongation come from a couple of grafts done at the same time of the lower one, but obviously being so much in the dominant part, they took a lot of energy and they really develop strongly. But this is basically the work I'm doing after all the gin and shari work. Now I will work on this branch, and then I will concentrate to the new apex in order, as I said, to open everything, get nice light inside, another season of growth, and then all these sections can really start developing some volumes and better structure and maturity for the future. We're getting close on finishing the apex of the tree. So finish wiring all the apical whips, doing some cleaning. Now, after doing the back part of the apex, this long part, I take care of this section. Still need to push down some lines to have a nice and round apex, and also remove some of the apical dominancy. As I said, I like to adjust all the whips, but differently from the lower part, in the apex I cut them back because I want now the tree to move energy in the lower part where it still need to grow. Here in the apex I'm pretty happy about the strength, and I don't need to have more elongation. I basically need to have a nice and compact foliage. So when I set the structure, I can prune back some of these elongation, and what the tree will do will go back in this inner green and get nice and tight. I have a couple of nice whips here you can use to fill the space in the center, looping them around, and then when they will develop lateral green, they can really fill in totally the space. It's very important to do this operation because otherwise we're gonna end up with a bad distribution of the energy in the different part of the tree, and then the next season we're gonna get even more strength in the apex, and the lower pads they will get weaker and weaker. So only if I perform a heavy bending on a part of the tree, I tend to let it free to grow for the next season. So doing that, that part can get stronger. But in general, when I set the apex like this on this tree, I need to prune it back. To avoid overwiring branches, I always like to use pieces of guy wire. They make the work much easy, and then obviously not having thick wire inside, I don't have problem of the wire biting in. So slowly some of the sections of the branches you can still move using some pieces of guy wire. So go down, because I work by myself, I find the anchor, and then I push down the branch and find the final position. And normally I anchor over a piece of wire, so I don't risk to damage the branch. And now is only a question of going back, observe the silhouette, move some branches if it's necessary. I just finished setting the apex of the tree. A little bit more work on cleaning the lines, just to have a little bit more definition of the profiles. It's not very important now, it's a basically first styling, but you can see already starting this morning with a lot of elongation and still with some of the original procumbens foliage. Now the tree already getting a nice shape, good work on starting the deadwood. So it's not a Yamadori, so we have to build good look on the trunk, but I think with this first styling we are in the good path, and the tree can keep maturing, and eventually next year we can do some more work on some more volumes of the tree, creating more layers, creating density, and working at the lines. Plus, in the next few years, some more work can be done on the live line, so they can start bumping out and rounding out. And I think then the tree will be nice in the future, especially with this very good and tight foliage. So I want to leave you with this last part of the video that is a little bit of help about sign grafting with my friend Hank. So we are here with Hank in his studio with a little juniper, and we're gonna put some graft here to create a nice show-in. So we have grafting knives, we have zip tie, tape, and we have the grafting paraffin. Okay, everything we need. We have a good kishu that we cut from a previous tree, and then we're gonna start grafting.
Hey there. So this is a juniper. I don't really care too much for the style that it's in right now, so let's make a little showing out of it. Now, the grafts that I'm going to be using are well, you can see, they are kishu grafts, or kishu scions, I should say, and I'll use the kishu scions to graft onto this little tree. Probably won't take more than 2 grafts to make a nice little showing on it. Now, one thing to remember, as Mauro mentioned, I like this particular tape because it's a stretchy tape. Okay, different than the one you buy for regular electrical. Parafilm, if you take parafilm and you cut it into a length that you can actually use when doing the grafting, it helps matters. Okay, so the tape that I use is, I'll show you, is a stretchy tape. And the reason I use a stretchy tape is that it actually puts a certain amount of pressure around the scion that you've just put on, and it keeps it from moving. Very important. I don't know if any of you have done grafting, but sometimes as you're putting it on and you're trying to secure it, the graft may move just a little bit. Putting on the tape ensures that it doesn't go anywhere. Okay? So, first thing on any kind of a graft that you're going to do, you have to take off the old bark, because the old bark, if it gets into the actual graft, it'll ruin your graft. Okay. So let's take a look. The top portion of the scion that you're going to use is full of growth. So that growth is important to actually making the whole thing better. When I first learned from Mas Ishi at Chikugoen, he would use no more than a graft that's this big. From my point of view, I don't think that matters a whole lot. You can use a much longer graft. It seems to work just fine. So a short graft if you're happy with that, a smaller graft if you're happy with that. If you're going to put multiple grafts on the same branch, you put on the first graft up high and the second graft lower. The reason you do that is if you put the lower graft on first, you have to be fighting the foliage all the time. So just keep in mind, whether it's the end of the branch or the branch closest to the trunk, always do the graft furthest away from the trunk first. Okay? When you're preparing the graft, you need to have a spot that enables you to actually make sort of like a little V shape in the end. Okay? This is actually my first time using this, but what I like about this particular knife that Mauro made, I like the fact that it has a push for your thumb. I've tried to, actually I have done lessons with other people, and it strikes fear in my heart because they tend to put their fingers in front of a very sharp knife. It's really bad. So in preparing this, again, just as we did on the trunk of the tree that we're going to use, you have to take off the extra bark. Using the little knife that Mauro has, you can see a cut that is sharp. What we want eventually is so what you have to make sure of is that whenever you've cut on both sides, you end up with a wedge, like a sharp wedge on the end. I've taken the tape off the paraffin film that I'm going to be using. We take this, and above where the cut has been made, above that, we go ahead and start wrapping the scion so that it will retain moisture during the period. You give a slight a tug on it, not much, a slight tug on it. So it'll retain the moisture. The foliage will retain the moisture until the scion actually takes hold on the tree. I don't know if you can see this, but it's just a matter of winding it around until it's completely engulfed in the parafilm. When you get to the end, all you do is you just keep on wrapping it, and the parafilm will basically go on to itself. So on a tree that has a trunk that's this size, it's really small. So I go ahead and I'll make some little pieces. And we'll use these little pieces to help hold the sign in place. Okay? Now this is going to be just a little bit odd because I'm going to be doing it in a direction that we'll probably put two on, okay? So we'll put one here. As you can see, we've cut into the cambium layer, the bark layer of this whole thing, of this particular tree we're going to work on. Yeah. And you can see here, it's got a little separation between the bark. This will slide in the best you can to match up with the existing cambium. And there we go. Okay? To secure it in place, I will use the stretchy tape. And put it around the scion and the tree, securing that it's not going to move. Now, to ensure that it's not going to move, I use the little cable ties. So the little cable tie goes around it. And we can go ahead and actually tighten it as much as possible. You'll see that for all practical purposes, if I move the top, the bottom isn't moving. So where it's attached to the tree, the attachment is secure. It'll take, I don't know, maybe less than 2 months before it sprouts out of this plastic parafilm.
Are you gonna cut the parafilm in 2 months, or is gonna break the parafilm?
It is going to break. There's going to be so much energy coming on all of this growth that it will break the parafilm. That and the sun will help it too. So as I've said to others, when you look at a graft, it's important to make sure that the tree itself is hydrated. Mm-hmm. It's not in full sun, it's in very partial sun. I like to pick a spot that has 3 sides that don't get sun, and maybe a little bit of sun in the morning. Other than that, you run the risk of burning it. So the cable tie actually ensures that where the cut is on the trunk and the scion goes in, the cable tie squeezes that together to make sure that the cambium layer doesn't have any mistakes, or the scion and the cambium layer.
When the grafter took, that you will see them growing, how long you wait to then start removing the original foliage?
As soon as it starts growing and you see that it's vigorous, I start cutting back on the foliage. I don't cut it all off at one time. I cut it off in sections. It's going to take a couple months for the thing for the scion to grow. So cutting it back in stages is fine.
You help the transition, basically.
Yeah, it's a transition for it.
Very good. Thank you, Hank. Thank you so much for this little explanation. I hope is very helpful for everyone looking at this video. Thank you again.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoy this video. Please subscribe the channel, that will help us to create more content, and see you at the next.